Captain Hyan stood on the bridge of the horizon and smiled. After 200 years of dreaming, humanity had finally done it. They had built a ship that could travel faster than light. They had left their solar system behind. Now, 3 months into their journey, they were about to make history. "Captain, we're detecting multiple signals ahead," Dr. Yuna said from her station. She was the best xenobiologist on Earth, handpicked for this mission. "They're artificial. Someone is out here." Hyan felt his heart race. First contact. This was the moment every human had dreamed about since they first looked up at the stars. "Can you translate?" "Working on it," Yuna replied, her fingers dancing across her console. "The patterns are complex but structured. Definitely intelligent." Lieutenant Sung checked his tactical display. "Captain, I'm reading 47 ships in the area. They're large. Much larger than ours. Probably a trade convoy or exploration fleet," Hyan said. "Prepare the first contact package. Let's introduce ourselves to our new neighbors." The horizon broadcast Earth's carefully prepared message. It contained mathematics, music, images of Earth, and messages of peace in every human language. They waited. Minutes passed like hours. Then the response came. It was not words. It was weapons fire. The first blast tore through the horizon's rear section. Alarms screamed throughout the ship. Sung's console exploded in sparks. Hyan grabbed his chair as the ship lurched violently to one side. "What's happening?" Hyan shouted over the noise. "They're firing on us." Sung yelled back. "Multiple ships converging on our position." "Captain, they're also targeting the colony ships." Hyan's blood turned to ice. The colony ships. 47 vessels carrying 50,000 people each. Families, children, scientists and farmers and teachers, all heading to humanity's first colony world. Evasive maneuvers. Return fire. Send a distress call back to Earth. But it was too late. The alien ships moved with terrible efficiency. They were faster, stronger, and clearly experienced in this kind of slaughter. One by one, the colony ships died. Each one represented a flash of light in the darkness, and then nothing. No escape pods, no survivors. Just debris. The horizon shook again. Yuna fell from her chair. Hyan helped her up, but he could see the fear in her eyes. They both knew the truth. They were going to die out here. "Captain, incoming transmission," Sung said, his voice barely a whisper. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies." The view screen flickered to life. The creature that appeared was like nothing in Earth's imagination. It had 6 limbs, scales that shimmered purple and black, and eyes that held no warmth at all. When it spoke, the computer translated its words into cold, mechanical speech. "Primitive species detected. Your vessels have been eliminated. Your attempt at expansion is over. You will submit to the Krillax Coalition. You will provide tribute of resources and biological specimens. You will serve. Resistance means extinction. You have 1 solar cycle to respond." The transmission ended. Hyan stared at the blank screen. Biological specimens. They meant slaves. The Krillax had just killed 2.3 million humans, and now they wanted Earth to bow down and hand over more. "Get that distress call out," Hyan ordered. "Make sure Earth knows what happened here. Make sure they know what these monsters are." "Working on it," Sung said. "The horizon is dying, but I can get a few escape pods launched with data recorders." Another explosion rocked the ship. The lights went out. Emergency red lighting cast everything in a hellish glow. Hyan could hear the hull groaning, could feel the ship tearing itself apart. "Yuna, Sung, get to the pods now," Hyan commanded. "What about you?" Yuna asked. "Someone needs to stay and make sure the message gets out," Hyan said. "Go. That's an order." They didn't argue. There was no time. Yuna and Sung ran for the escape pod bay. Hyan turned back to his console and began recording. His hands were steady even as the ship died around him. This is Captain Hyan of the Earth vessel Horizon. We made first contact today. It did not go as we hoped. The species that calls itself the Krillax Coalition destroyed our entire expedition. 2.3 million souls lost. They did it without warning, without mercy, without reason, except that they could. They have demanded Earth's surrender. They want tribute. They want slaves. The ship shuddered. Hyan knew he had seconds left. To whoever hears this message, know that we tried. We came in peace. We offered friendship. What we got was murder. Tell Earth. Tell them what's waiting out here in the dark. Tell them to prepare. Tell them. The horizon exploded. The blast lit up the void of space for just a moment, and then darkness returned. The Krillax ships moved on, already bored with the easy kill. To them, this was just another Tuesday. Another primitive species discovered and crushed. The galaxy had seen it 1,000 times before, but 3 escape pods tumbled through space. Their automatic beacons active, their databanks full. Inside each one, the recording played on repeat. Captain Hyan's final words. His final warning. Back on Earth, 18 days later, the pods were recovered. The data was extracted. And when the leaders of Earth watched Captain Hyan's message, when they saw the death of 2.3 million people, when they heard the Krillax's demands, something changed in humanity. The politicians stopped talking about peace. The scientists stopped dreaming about exploration. The military stopped training for defense. Earth had a new mission now. Earth had a new purpose, revenge. Admiral Taiyang stood in the war room deep beneath the surface of Earth. Around him, holographic displays showed the current state of humanity's preparations. 80 months had passed since the massacre. 18 months since the Krillax had sent their demands. They wanted Earth's surrender within 1 year. That deadline had passed 6 months ago. The Krillax were probably wondering why Earth had gone silent. All transmissions had stopped. All deep space broadcasts had ceased. From the outside, it looked like humanity had simply given up. Maybe they thought Earth was dead. Maybe they thought humans had destroyed themselves in panic. They were wrong. Report. Taiyang said to the room. Engineer Nari stepped forward. She looked tired. Everyone looked tired these days. But her eyes burned with purpose. The ghost ship program is complete, Admiral. We have 500 vessels ready for deployment. The Krillax won't see them coming. Taiyang nodded. The ghost ships were humanity's answer to a simple problem. The Krillax had better weapons, better shields, and better sensors. So humans had built ships that didn't fight fair. Ships that bent light around themselves. Ships that emitted no heat signature. Ships that were invisible to every form of detection the Krillax used. And the weapons? Taiyang asked. Antimatter bombs are loaded and ready, Nari continued. Each ghost ship carries enough firepower to crack a planet. We also have the combat viruses prepared. Once uploaded to their networks, they'll spread like wildfire. The Krillax will be blind and deaf within hours. Commander Junho spoke next. He was a lean man with cold eyes. He had volunteered to lead the Reaper Corps, humanity's new special forces unit. They trained for only one mission: board enemy vessels and leave no survivors. My teams are ready, Junho said simply. 10,000 soldiers. We've studied every second of footage from the horizon. We know how the Krillax think. We know how they fight. We know their weaknesses. Which are? Taiyang asked, though he already knew the answer. Arrogance, Junho replied. They've been the dominant power for 800 years. They don't expect resistance. They don't expect prey to fight back. That makes them predictable. That makes them dead. Around the room, other officers gave their reports. The orbital shipyards had built faster than anyone thought possible. The entire human economy had converted to war production. Every factory, every resource, every person had one purpose now. Make the Krillax pay. Dr. Yuna was there too. She had survived the Horizon disaster and spent every day since then studying the Krillax biology from the recordings. "I've identified 17 ways to kill them," she said when her turn came. Chemical weapons, biological agents, toxins that target their specific physiology. "I've created viruses that will eat their scales, bacteria that will dissolve their internal organs, gases that will choke them in their own atmosphere." Taiyang looked at her. Yuna had been a peaceful scientist once. She had wanted to understand alien life, to build bridges between species. Now she built weapons. The massacre had changed everyone. "The Krillax wanted tribute," Taiyang said to the room. "They wanted us to bow down. They wanted us to send them resources and slaves. Instead, we're going to give them something else. We're going to give them extinction." The room erupted in grim approval. There were no cheers, no celebrations. Just cold determination. Humanity had learned a hard lesson. The galaxy was not a friendly place. The galaxy did not care about peace or justice or fairness. The galaxy respected only one thing: strength. "When do we launch?" Nari asked. 48 hours, Taiyang replied. "The ghost ships will deploy to 50 Krillax systems simultaneously. We'll hit their military bases, their colonies, their homeworld. Everything at once. No warnings, no mercy. Just like they gave us." Junho smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. What about the other alien species? The ones who watched the massacre and did nothing? Taiyang had thought about this a lot. Earth's intelligence had recovered Krillax data about the galaxy. There were hundreds of alien civilizations out there. Many of them knew what the Krillax did to primitive species. None of them had intervened. None of them had helped. "They made their choice," Taiyang said. "They chose to look away. After we're done with the Krillax, we'll send them a message. We'll show them what happens when you ignore human suffering. Then we'll wait. If they come for us, we'll be ready. If they leave us alone, we leave them alone. Simple." Over the next 2 days, the ghost ships prepared to launch. Their crews were volunteers, every single one. Many had lost family in the massacre. Some had lost everyone. They boarded their vessels in silence, their faces hard as stone. The ships lifted off from secret bases across Earth and the solar system. They slipped through space like shadows, invisible and deadly. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy a civilization. Each one had a target list burned into its navigation system. In the war room, Taiyang watched the deployment. 500 ships, 50 systems. This was the largest military operation in human history. It was also the most brutal. There would be no prisoners taken. No surrender accepted. The Krillax had shown humanity what they thought of mercy. Now humanity would return the favor. "Admiral," an officer said, "all ships report ready. They're in position." Taiyang took a deep breath. This was it. This was the moment when humanity stopped being prey and became predator. This was the moment when the galaxy learned what happened when you pushed humans too far. "Send the order," Taiyang commanded. "Begin Operation Revenge. Show them what humans do when you kill our children." Across 50 star systems, 500 ghost ships appeared from nowhere. The Krillax had no warning. They had no time to react. They had no chance at all. The war had begun. And it would not end until the Krillax were gone. Back on Earth, people gathered in public squares and watched the broadcasts. They knew what was happening out there. They knew their military was unleashing hell on an alien species. Some prayed. Some cried. Some simply stared at the stars with hard eyes. Dr. Yuna stood at her window and looked up at the night sky. Somewhere out there, Captain Hyan's sacrifice was being avenged. Somewhere out there, 2.3 million souls were being honored the only way the galaxy understood. With blood, with fire, with total, absolute merciless destruction. Captain Daehan watched his tactical display as the ghost ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The Krillax system spread before him like a jewel in space. 3 planets, 2 asteroid belts, and a massive orbital station that served as their regional military headquarters. 16 Krillax warships patrolled the system, confident and lazy. They had no idea death had arrived. "All stations report," Daehan ordered quietly. His crew responded with whispers. The ghost ship ran silent, every system optimized to avoid detection. They floated in space like a hole in reality, invisible to every sensor the Krillax possessed. "Weapons ready, Captain," his tactical officer said. "Antimatter bombs armed and locked on target." "Communications are jammed," added the signals officer. "They can't call for help. Specialist Minji, are you ready?" Daehan asked Dodd from the cyber warfare station. Minji looked up and nodded. She was young, barely 25, but she had a gift for breaking computer systems. "Ready, Captain. Once we're close enough, I'll upload the virus package. Their entire network will belong to us in under a minute." Daehan smiled coldly. Admiral Taiyang's plan was perfect in its brutality. The ghost ships would appear across 50 systems at exactly the same moment. The Krillax would have no time to warn each other, no time to coordinate a defense, no time to run. "Begin the approach," Daehan ordered. "Remember your training. No mercy, no prisoners. We're not here to conquer. We're here to exterminate." The ghost ship moved forward, silent as death. Around the system, Daehan knew other human vessels were doing the same. 20 ghost ships had been assigned to this particular target. 20 invisible predators stalking their prey. The Krillax warships continued their patrols, unaware. On the orbital station, thousands of Krillax went about their daily routines. They had no idea these were the last moments of their lives. "We're in range," the tactical officer reported. "All weapons locked." "Minji, launch the virus," Daehan commanded. Specialist Minji's fingers flew across her console. A tiny data packet shot from the ghost ship, invisible and fast. It struck the Krillax network and immediately began to replicate. The virus was a masterpiece of malicious code, designed specifically for Krillax systems. It spread through their computers like cancer, infecting everything it touched. "Upload successful," Minji reported. "Their defensive systems are going dark. Communications are down. They're blind." "Fire all weapons," Daehan said. The ghost ship unleashed hell. Antimatter bombs crossed the distance to the orbital station in seconds. The station didn't even have time to raise shields. The bombs struck and matter met antimatter. The resulting explosion was brighter than the system's sun. The station and everyone on it simply ceased to exist. Across the system, the other ghost ships opened fire. The Krillax warships tried to respond, but their weapons wouldn't activate. Their shields wouldn't raise. Their engines wouldn't engage. Minji's virus had turned their mighty warships into floating coffins. Human railguns tore through Krillax hulls like paper. Energy weapons boiled their armor away. One by one, the warships died. Some tried to surrender, broadcasting desperate pleas on all frequencies. The ghost ships ignored them. This wasn't war. This was extermination. "Target the colonies," Daehan ordered. His tactical officer hesitated for just a moment. "Captain, those are civilian populations." Daehan turned to look at him. So were the people on our colony ships. So were the families that the Krillax murdered without warning. "Fire the weapons." The tactical officer swallowed hard and entered the commands. Antimatter bombs fell toward the Krillax colony worlds. The aliens below had no shelters, no defenses, no hope. They had lived in safety for 800 years, protected by their military might. That safety had made them soft. That safety had made them vulnerable. The bombs hit. 3 colony worlds burned. Billions of Krillax died in nuclear fire. Their cities melted. Their oceans boiled. Their atmosphere ignited and then blew away into space. In under an hour, 3 thriving worlds became lifeless rocks. "This is the Yun to all ships," the captain broadcast on the human command channel. "Primary targets eliminated. Beginning secondary sweep. Search for escape pods, refugee ships, anything trying to flee. No survivors." Across 50 systems, the same scene repeated itself. The Krillax Coalition, the terror of the galaxy for 8 centuries, was being systematically destroyed. Their military bases became debris fields. Their colonies became graveyards. Their mighty fleet became floating scrap. And for the first time in their long history, the Krillax felt fear. On their homeworld, the Krillax leadership watched in horror as reports came in. System after system went silent. Fleet after fleet was destroyed. Colony after colony burned. They had sent demands to Earth. They had expected tribute. Instead, they got annihilation. The Krillax High Commander, an ancient warrior who had fought 100 wars, stood before the council chamber and tried to make sense of what was happening. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "How can one primitive species do this to us?" "They're not primitive anymore," his intelligence officer said quietly. "They've been preparing for this. Every ship, every weapon, every tactic was designed specifically to kill us. They studied us. They learned our weaknesses. And then they exploited them." "Send a delegation to Earth," the High Commander ordered. "Offer peace. Offer reparations. Offer anything they want." "It's too late," the intelligence officer replied. "They don't want peace. They want revenge. And they won't stop until we're extinct." The High Commander looked at the tactical display showing their collapsing empire. For the first time in his long life, he felt true terror. They had awakened something terrible. They had pushed humanity too far. "Send distress calls to the other galactic powers," the High Commander said desperately. "Tell them what's happening. Beg them for help." The distress calls went out across the galaxy. They told of the human attack. They described the slaughter. They begged the other civilizations to intervene, to stop the humans before it was too late. But the other civilizations remembered something. They remembered watching as the Krillax massacred the human colony fleet. They remembered doing nothing as 2.3 million humans died. They remembered choosing to look away. And now they made another choice. They chose to look away again. Not because they supported the Krillax, but because they were terrified of becoming the next target. Back in his ghost ship, Captain Dehan reviewed the damage reports. This system was dead. Every Krillax military asset destroyed. Every colony turned to ash. Every escape attempt thwarted. It was brutal work but necessary. "Captain, incoming transmission from Admiral Taiyang," his communications officer reported. Dehan accepted the message. The Admiral's face appeared on the screen, hard and cold. "Status report, Captain. Mission accomplished, Admiral. This system is clear. No Krillax survivors. Good. Move to your next target. We have 49 more systems to cleanse." The Krillax wanted to harvest humanity. Instead, we're harvesting them. The transmission ended. Dehan turned to his crew. They all looked tired, haunted by what they had done. But none of them suggested stopping. They had all lost people in the massacre. This was personal. "Set course for the next system," Dehan ordered. "Let's finish what we started." Ambassador Sora walked through the halls of the Galactic Council station with steady steps. She was the first human most of these aliens had ever seen in person. Their eyes followed her, wide with shock and fear. Good. Let them fear. 6 months had passed since humanity began its campaign against the Krillax. In that time, the mighty Krillax coalition had collapsed. Of their original population of 90 billion, fewer than 3 billion remained. Their empire was gone. Their military was destroyed. Their colonies were ashed, and the galaxy had watched it all happen. The council chamber was massive, designed to hold representatives from over 200 species. Today, every seat was filled. Everyone wanted to see the human. Everyone wanted to understand how one species had achieved what the entire galaxy thought impossible. It took her place at the center of the chamber. Around her, the alien representatives whispered and pointed. She could feel their fear like a physical presence in the air. She waited for silence. The council leader, a floating jellyfish-like creature called a Veltari, spoke first. Its voice was translated into human language by the universal translator. Ambassador Sora of Earth, you stand before the Galactic Council to answer for your species' actions. The Krillax Coalition has filed formal complaints of genocide, war crimes, and violations of galactic law. Sora smiled coldly. The Krillax Coalition? That's interesting. I wasn't aware they still had the resources to file complaints. From our intelligence, they're too busy dying to worry about paperwork. A shocked murmur ran through the chamber. The council leader pulsed an angry red color. This is not a matter for jokes, Ambassador. Your species has committed atrocities across 50 star systems. Atrocities? Sora's voice was calm but sharp as a blade. You want to talk about atrocities? Fine, let's talk. She activated a holographic projector. The chamber's lights dimmed. Images appeared in the air above them. Images of the horizon. Images of the 47 colony ships. Images of families and children and scientists, all heading to start a new life among the stars. This is what first contact looked like for humanity, Sora said. We came in peace. We offered friendship. We followed every protocol we could imagine to show we meant no harm. The hologram shifted. It showed the Krillax attack, the sudden weapons fire, the colony ships exploding one by one. The viewers in the chamber watched in silence as 2.3 million humans died. No warning, Sora continued. No communication. No mercy. The Krillax saw us as prey and they acted accordingly. They killed our people. Then they demanded we surrender. They wanted tribute. They wanted slaves. They wanted us to bow down and accept our place as their property. The hologram changed again. It showed Captain Hion's final message. His words echoed through the chamber. Tell Earth what's waiting out here in the dark. Tell them to prepare. Sora turned to face the council leader. So we prepared. And now you dare call us criminals? Where were you when the Krillax massacred our people? Where was the Galactic Council when we needed justice? The council leader couldn't answer. No one in the chamber could. They had known. They'd all known what the Krillax did to primitive species. It was an open secret. The Krillax had done it hundreds of times before. And every time, the galaxy had looked away. You watched, Sora said, her voice filled with contempt. You all watched as the Krillax murdered our people. You did nothing. You offered no help, no justice, no compassion. You just watched. So we decided that if the galaxy wouldn't stop the Krillax, we would. And we won't stop until the job is finished. You're planning to exterminate an entire species. Someone shouted from the seats. Yes, Sora replied without hesitation. The Krillax made it clear that there's no room in this galaxy for both our species. They chose extinction. We're simply granting their wish. This is madness. Another representative cried. The Galactic Council will not allow. Sora laughed. It was a cold, bitter sound. You misunderstand your position. You don't get to allow or forbid humanity anything. We're not asking permission. We're informing you of our actions as a courtesy. She activated another hologram. This one showed star maps. Red markers indicated Krillax systems. One by one, the markers turned black as human ghost ships eliminated them. In 2 weeks, we will reach the Krillax homeworld, Sora said. Captain Wujin's siege fleet is already in position. They have enough firepower to crack the planet in half. We will give the civilian population one chance to evacuate. Then we will destroy their homeworld. The Krillax species will end. We can stop you, the council leader said, though its voice wavered. The combined fleets of the council won't be enough, Sora interrupted. She activated one more hologram. It showed human ghost ships appearing in orbit around dozens of worlds. Every major alien homeworld in the council. While you've been debating here, my people have positioned fleets near all of your worlds. If you interfere with our operations against the Krillax, you will join them in extinction. The chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted in fear and anger. Some called for immediate military action. Others demanded diplomatic solutions. A few simply stared at Sora with open terror. The council leader raised its tentacles for silence. When the chamber quieted, it spoke carefully. Ambassador Sora, what do you want? I want the galaxy to understand something very simple, Sora replied. Humanity came in peace. You forced us to come in war. We tried to be friends. You taught us to be monsters. Now you're terrified of what you created. Good. You should be. She paused, letting her words sink in. Earth seeks only one thing, to be left alone. We will not join your council. We will not participate in your politics. We will return to our space and defend our borders. But if any species ever attacks humanity again, if any species ever threatens our people, we will do to them exactly what we're doing to the Krillax. Total extinction. No mercy. No survivors. That's barbaric. Someone shouted. No, Sora corrected. It's human. You wanted to know what makes us different. This is it. We don't do proportional responses. We don't do limited warfare. We don't do conditional surrender. When you push us, we push back with everything we have. When you kill our families, we erase your species from existence. That's the lesson the Krillax learned too late. That's the lesson the galaxy needs to learn now. The council leader looked at her with what might have been fear or respect. It was hard to tell with jellyfish. And if we leave you alone? If we respect your borders and never threaten Earth? Then we'll never have a problem, Sora said. We're not conquerors. We're not interested in your territory or your resources. We just want to live in peace. But the price of attacking humanity is extinction. Make sure every species in the galaxy understands that. She turned and walked toward the exit. No one tried to stop her. No one dared dot as she reached the door. Sora paused and looked back. Oh, and one more thing. Some of you are probably thinking about helping the Krillax. Maybe offering them sanctuary or resources or military support. Don't, because we'll find out. And when we do, we'll add your species to the list. She left the chamber in silence. Behind her, the representatives of 200 civilizations sat frozen, trying to process what had just happened. A single human had walked into their council and threatened the entire galaxy. And they all knew she wasn't bluffing Dot in orbit around the council station. A single human ghost ship decloaked for just a moment. Just long enough to be detected. Just long enough to remind everyone that humanity was watching. Then it vanished again, leaving only fear behind. The galaxy had learned something important that day. It had learned that humans were neither predator nor prey. They were something far more dangerous. They were a species that would burn down everything to protect their own. And in a galaxy that had forgotten what real war looked like, that made humanity the most terrifying force alive. Captain Wujin stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked at the planet below, the Krillax homeworld, where it all started, where 800 years of conquest and cruelty had been born. Soon, it would be nothing but rocks and dust. "Status report," Wujin ordered. His tactical officer checked the displays. "All siege ships in position, Captain. We have antimatter bombs, kinetic weapons, and planet crackers ready. The entire homeworld is surrounded. No Krillax ship can escape." 14 months had passed since the war began. In that time, humanity had hunted the Krillax across the galaxy. System by system, world by world, the coalition had fallen. Now only their homeworld remained, and less than 1 billion Krillax huddled on its surface. "Open a channel," Wujin commanded. "Let's give them one last chance." The transmission went out across all frequencies. Wujin's face appeared on every screen across the Krillax homeworld. When he spoke, his voice was cold but not cruel. He was simply stating facts. "People of the Krillax coalition, this is Captain Wujin of Earth's siege fleet. You have 24 hours to evacuate this world. We will provide safe passage to any ship that leaves the system. After 24 hours, we will destroy your planet. This is not negotiable. This is not a bluff. You killed our people without warning. We are offering you more mercy than you gave us. Use it wisely." The transmission ended. Around the bridge, Wujin's crew waited in silence. They all knew this was it. The final act. The end of the Krillax species. On the surface, panic spread. The Krillax leadership argued and fought. Some wanted to surrender completely. Others wanted to fight to the last. Still others wanted to flee and rebuild elsewhere. In the end, fear won. Ships began lifting off from the surface. Cargo vessels, passenger liners, private craft, anything that could fly. They streamed toward the edge of the system, watched carefully by human sensors. "Captain, the Krillax are evacuating," his sensor officer reported. "Looks like about 400 million will make it off planet in time." Wujin nodded. 400 million out of 90 billion. That was all that would survive. The Krillax had started as the galaxy's greatest power. They would end as scattered refugees with no home and no hope. Back on Earth, Admiral Taiyang watched the same data. The war room was quieter now than it had been at the beginning. Everyone was tired. Everyone had seen too much death. But no one suggested stopping. "Admiral, we're getting communications from some of the alien civilizations," an officer reported. "They're asking us to show mercy, to spare the Krillax homeworld." Taiyang almost laughed. "Mercy? They ask us for mercy now? Where were they when we needed it?" He shook his head. "Send them Ambassador Sora's standard response. We will show the Krillax exactly as much mercy as they showed us." Dr. Jiang stood in the corner of the war room, watching and recording. She had been documenting humanity's campaign from the beginning. Future generations would need to understand what happened here. They would need to know why humanity had done what it did. "Admiral," Jiang said quietly, "do you ever regret this? What we've become?" Taiyang looked at her for a long moment. "Every day," he admitted. "But regret doesn't change necessity. The Krillax forced this war. They chose genocide. We simply returned the favor. If that makes us monsters, then the galaxy created us." 24 hours passed. The evacuation ships fled into deep space. Human vessels escorted them to the system edge and then let them go. True to Wujin's word, any Krillax who left was allowed to live. But the planet itself was doomed. All evacuation ships have cleared the system, Wujin's sensor officer reported. The planet is ours. Wujin took a deep breath. Broadcast this across all galactic channels. I want every species to watch what happens when you attack humanity. The cameras activated. The galaxy watched. And Captain Wujin gave the final order. Fire all weapons. The siege fleet unleashed everything. Antimatter bombs fell like rain. Kinetic weapons struck at relativistic speeds. Planet crackers tore into the crust. The Krillax homeworld, which had stood for thousands of years, began to die. The bombardment lasted 6 hours. The oceans boiled away. The atmosphere burned. The crust cracked and magma poured out like blood from a wound. Cities that had stood for centuries crumbled to dust. Monuments to Krillax glory melted into slag. When it was over, the homeworld was gone. What remained was a shattered ball of rock, glowing red-hot and lifeless. Nothing would ever grow there again. Nothing would ever live there again. It was a tomb. A warning. A message written in fire and death. The galaxy watched in silence. Back at the Galactic Council, the representatives sat frozen. They had just witnessed the end of one of the galaxy's great civilizations. They had watched humans do something that should have been impossible. One species, barely space-capable 2 years ago, had destroyed an empire that had lasted 8 centuries. Ambassador Sora stood before them again. This time, no one shouted. No one protested. They simply listened. "It's done," Sora said simply. "The Krillax coalition is extinct as a political power. Their homeworld is destroyed. The survivors are scattered and broken. They will never threaten anyone again." She paused and looked around the chamber. "Let this be a lesson to all of you. Earth did not want this war. We came in peace. We offered friendship. The Krillax chose violence. They paid the price. Any species that makes the same mistake will meet the same fate." The council leader spoke quietly. "What happens now, Ambassador?" "Now, humanity goes home," Sora replied. "We will withdraw our fleets. We will return to our space. But we will leave monitoring stations throughout the galaxy. We will watch. And if we ever detect another threat to Earth or human colonies, we will act immediately and without mercy. Consider this the new galactic law. Leave humanity alone." She turned to leave, then stopped. "Oh, and one more thing. The Galactic Council is free to continue as it has. We won't interfere. But don't ever presume to tell us what to do. Don't ever demand we follow your laws. And don't ever think you can stop us if we decide to act." The Krillax thought they were invincible. Look what happened to them. Sora left the chamber. This time, the silence followed her all the way to her ship. On Earth, Dr. Ji-Yong compiled her final report. She had documented everything. The massacre, the preparation, the revenge, the cost. Humanity had won, but the victory came with a price. They had become the thing they once feared. They had become the monsters of the galaxy. Her report ended with a simple conclusion. We became what we had to become. We answered genocide with extinction. We met violence with greater violence. History will judge us, but we will survive. That's all that matters. We will survive. The galaxy slowly returned to normal, but nothing was truly the same. Trade routes avoided human space. Diplomatic channels remained closed. Alien civilizations whispered about humanity with fear and respect. They told stories about the species that destroyed the mighty Krillax. They created new laws about first contact, making sure no one ever made the same mistake again. A new term entered galactic vocabulary: the human response. It meant total, overwhelming, disproportionate retaliation. It meant that some species should never be provoked. It meant that mercy was a gift, not a right. Years passed. Human colonies spread slowly and carefully through space. Whenever they entered a new system, alien species would flee without protest. No one challenged them. No one threatened them. The memory of the Krillak's homeworld burning kept everyone quiet. On the edge of human space, a single ghost ship patrolled the border. Its crew rotated every 6 months, but the mission never changed. Watch, wait, protect, and if necessary, remind the galaxy why humanity should be left alone. Inside the ship, a young officer asked her captain a question. "Do you think they'll ever forgive us? The other species?" The captain looked out at the stars and shook his head. "Forgiveness doesn't matter. Respect does. They may hate us. They may fear us. But they will never, ever attack us again. That's what matters. That's what all those deaths purchased. Was it worth it?" The officer asked. The captain thought about Captain Hyan, about the 2.3 million dead, about the choice humanity had faced, submit or fight. "Ask me in 100 years, he said finally, when human children can grow up without fear, when our colonies thrive in peace, when the galaxy remembers that we tried diplomacy first and violence only after they forced our hand. Ask me then if it was worth it." The ghost ship continued its patrol. Behind it, humanity lived and grew in the silence they had created. Ahead of it, the galaxy watched and waited, hoping never to provoke Earth's wrath again. The war was over. Humanity had won, and the galaxy had learned its lesson. Some species are better left alone.